And I'm especially excited about having a Korean War vet because, as you said, it's sometimes regarded as the forgotten war. And,
yes, there are a lot of people that just don't even know that that existed.
Right, right.
I'm talking about grown people. I forgot about it.
Exactly. I did a show this last weekend with Bill Youngkin.
Oh, you saw it? We saw it.
Yeah, who's writing the articles in the Eagle, and he mentioned on there about how the Korean War. You know, we talk about the World War II veterans and how they're getting old and moving on. Well, you know, Korea came right after that. It was.
I kind of say we might not be what you call it, the greatest generation, but we were their baby brothers, I think, or their younger brothers.
That's right.
Because I was just a couple of years away from enlisting when the war was over. Because I was already planning to go. I was ready to go.
Sure. Now you were in class of 51?
51.
Where did you grow up? Where did you?
In Tomball, Texas.
In Tomball.
That's when it was just a town way out of Houston.
Yeah.
And now it's just almost a part of Houston.
Now it's part of Houston. Where were you born?
I was born in Iola. You know where Iola is?
Oh, sure.
Across
Of course, yeah.
But I didn't live there. My mother's family, her father had a farm there, a small farm, and raised 7 kids there. And when my father, when they were ready to have me, my father took her back home, and then he stayed around long enough for me to be born and headed back out to the pipeline. He was a pipeliner. And I went to start the first grade in Navasota, and I went 3 years of school in Hearn. So
you've been all over the valley.
I bounced all around here.
You bounced all around, and but you lived most of your youth in Tomball. Is that right?
From the 7th grade through college and on till I got out of the Army.
Yeah, Tomball was your home.
Tomball was my home. And it was a nice little town. It was a small town then.
Right.
Class B sports, and now it's 5A. They only have one school, but
right.
But it's a.
So you graduated high school in what? 47, 48?
In 47.
47. Okay. And you were a freshman in 48. That was the year I was born. You were a freshman.
Everybody looks young now.
And class of 51. So the Korean War was going pretty strong when you graduated.
It started in the summer of 50.
Right.
And then I had another year then. I graduated in the summer of 51. And so it had already been going on, and actually the class of 50 is the one that caught the brunt of it. They went over and made the invasions and went through the Chosen Reservoir thing, and so fortunately I missed that, but I got over there in time that there was still a lot of action going on out there, and the war was over about 2 years after I got there then.
Right. Now you're in the Army?
I was in the Army Infantry.
Army Infantry. So you were on the ground?
Yes. Yes, I went to, the first, I reported to my company command post on Heartbreak Ridge the first night that I got there. We had to wait the night to go across because you had to go right down the valley, and we went to Heartbreak Ridge, and they assigned me to a platoon that was across. Heartbreak Ridge came down, and then I went right straight across the valley, and there's a little river that went right about a third of the way across the valley, and it went north and south. And my platoon was on the low ground, which is the worst place you can be in combat for an infantry soldier. You always want the high ground.
Sure.
Mine was low because I was the last guy there, and they gave me this low. But I had 55 men when my first assignment was the 3rd platoon. I had 55 men spread across. It started a little bit on Heartbreak Ridge, it came down across the valley and started back up the other side.
I see.
And I had 55 men, which is a large platoon, but they had extra men assigned because of the length and width of the valley, and there's a lot to cover.
Now were you the platoon leader?
I was the platoon leader.
You were the platoon leader. So straight out of Texas A&M College, and before long you find yourself commanding a platoon in Korea.
That's correct. That's right.
That's quite a leap, isn't it?
Actually, they took infantry officers. I'm sure the other branch of services do the same thing, but they took us infantry officers when we graduated, and were called into active duty almost immediately. And they sent us to Fort Benning, Georgia, for a 16-week training called Associate Army Officers Training School, and they just kind of went through the basics of, got right down to the nitty gritty and did the training. And
They were training you specifically for what you were going to do.
Right.
To go to Korea.
I was already an officer, and they were showing me how to be one, I think. That's what.
Yeah.
And it was an excellent school. I stayed there 16 weeks, and then we went. I had already been assigned to the 6th Infantry Division at Fort Ord, California. My original paper said I was to go to Fort Benning and then to Fort Ord. And I got there, and I was assigned to a company that was, training troops. They were training new recruits, and that was good training for me too. We brought in a cycle of new recruits that had just been drafted and made soldiers out of them, and most of them went to Korea. And we trained another one about halfway through the next cycle that they brought in. Well, I got my orders to go to Korea.
Yeah.
At that time, usually the reserve officers went to Korea, which was called FECOM, Far East Command, and the regular Army officers went to EUCOM, which was Europe. And so most of the officers, unless they volunteered, were reserve officers in Korea. Now a lot of some of the West Point officers, they wanted to get into action and get medals and stuff as soon as they could, and they volunteered to go to Korea. So we did have some West Point, but most of the other regular Army officers were sent to Europe.
Right. So your infantry, your platoon was frontline.
Yes.
In Korea. That obviously generates some stories.
Yes, we had. Well, the first thing that happened when I actually flew from the time I got my orders. Well, I took her, and we had a little baby by that time. I took them back to Tomball, and she was in Palacios, and she spent the time back and forth. And I just left them there and got on an airplane at Hobby, which was Houston Airport at the time, and flew to San Francisco and was ordered to, and went to Camp Stoneman, and then they saw that I was an infantry officer, and of course that's what they need. My MOS meant Military Occupation Specialist, was 1542, which meant Infantry Unit Commander, and that just stood out at everybody. So they flew me to Tokyo, and then they flew me from Tokyo to Seoul, and flew me from Seoul to regimental headquarters, and I was meeting the commanders and everything there, and then sure enough they had a helicopter, went from regimental to battalion, so I went by air all the way from Houston to the combat zone.
To where you were?
And then I got there in the morning, and this valley was north and south, and as I said, it's called the Mungdung Ni Valley, and and you couldn't go, once you turned, there was a little finger there, the battalion headquarters behind in the mountain, and they had a road, once you turned that road, you were in direct sight of everybody for miles. I mean, on a clear day you could see everything, and so you came under fire as soon as you rounded the curve in the Jeep or whatever you came in.
So you recall when it got serious, and when
it got serious when I made that
your
first
combat?
turn. When I made that first turn is when it got serious.
When it got serious.
And it was night.
Yeah.
They wasn't allowed any traffic in the daytime unless they had to, and they turned the lights off and your transport. And I went up in the Jeep, and there was a sign, a big sign that they planted just before you made the turn to head right up the valley. It says something like, "Caution, from this point on, Joe Chink directs traffic." And there was Chinese out in front of us, and they did. And there was always, all day long, there was artillery and mortar shells coming in and going out. When I first went out, well, there was what we call quad 50s, which was 50 caliber machine guns in tandem. And you might have seen they're old now, and they don't have them anymore, but they were impressive.
Yes.
And they were shooting, and they were firing tracers all the way across over my head to the mountains, and we were receiving fire back because tracers work both ways.
Right.
You can see where they came from as well as seeing where they're landing. And so the enemy is trying to knock out the machine gun is trying to just harass us. They knew where they were and trying to knock them out. So that was my first experience. And they took me up to Heartbreak Ridge, and the met my company commander there, and they told me where I was going to be, and they called for the sergeant to come get me and introduced me to and one thing he told me that as soon as I got down there and got established, we would go over and meet the tank platoon leader, because I had a platoon of 5 M26 tanks attached to my platoon. So he was the tank platoon leader was in one bunker, and I was supposed to be in the other. And preceding this, there was a lot of Aggies. When I went to Fort Benning and everywhere. And of course, everyone who graduated in 50 and 51 were all around. And when I went to this 16-week school, there was a lot of Aggies there, and of course, we got together a lot. And one of which was a guy in the infantry there named Ken Shockey. He was a B Company infantry. And so I saw him a lot in Fort Benning, and when I got to Fort Ord, and I was assigned to C Company, when I got there, he was there. He was one of the platoon leaders in C Company. Same company, and there we gone from coast to coast, still together. And what I'm leading up to is when I went over the next morning to meet my tank platoon leader, guess who it was? It's Ken Shockey.
I'll be darned.
Same guy. And he said something like, "Where have you been? I've been waiting for you."
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's a interesting tale, and we were on the front lines together the entire time.
I'll be darned.
And he was involved in the battle that you got the Silver Star for.
Right. Talk about that battle that you got the Silver Star.
Well, by the time we got there, the lines there was trenches. We had a front line, and they had a front line. It was all dug in. Of course, my front line was right across the valley, so everybody was seeing me. And of course, it was a place that they would attack, so we got a lot of people coming in probing all the time, and we had a lot of action. We sent patrols out. Every night we sent a patrol out, called an ambush patrol, and it's just to stop somebody. If an attack was coming, they would be the first one to see it. Of course, they would be gone, but they would be the first one to see it. And every night we had somebody out there. And once or twice a week, we sent another bigger patrol out that just went around trying to find the enemy and contact them and usually try to capture a prisoner. Or it wasn't to attack somebody, because that all came back from headquarters. But we'd go out and probe the lines, and we made several of those. And one time when I had to go out, well, I took about, I think it was, there were 7 men. I had about 21 men there. And I left 7 and went out and kept them in reserve, and then 14 of us went on, and another one just stayed about behind us. And we'd go out and we had 3 separate places to go to, and we camped at one place for a while, and then moved to another. And the third place we went there, we were there about 5 minutes, and we were I looked up and I saw about 8 of the enemy coming down over across one of the knolls there. And so actually what happened was we looked up and there was some more on the other side, and so we'd actually sort of walked into a trap,
Yeah.
Not really, but so we maneuvered around and kind of got set before the fire even started. Got some protection. We had preset at each location we were going to artillery and mortar fire to come in if we had to have them, and the tanks also. My 5 tanks down there that Jockey was commanding. Well, they had zeroed in, and when I told them whatever position I was at, well, they knew which to change and knew where to fire at. Well, we did have quite a big skirmish there. There was 7 of us, and when it started, the other 7 that was behind us came up, and then we had the reserve back that was in one place, and I called them up too. And we ended up having quite a battle there, and we estimated we killed about 20 of them, and we thought maybe it was about 5 or 6 more that we'd hit, but we saw 20 of them fall. And I lost. Well, I had one guy that got wounded, but he got knocked down and got back up again, and one guy was shot, and we had to get him, and I had to crawl up around a rock and grab him and pull him back. He ended up, when we got back to the front lines, and he was dead already. We sort of presumed that he was killed immediately. And we had to call in fire on top of it. We couldn't get out then, and so we had to call in fire on top of us to kind of soften things up so we could get out.
Wow.
And at first, the artillery and the mortars they were real slow because they knew we were there, and even though that's what they're supposed to have done, I guess they hesitated. And human nature, I suppose. But I got a hold of my friend with the tanks, and he came right in and fired, and they were pinpoint accuracy, and I believe that saved all of our lives then when he did that. And then after he started with the rest of the artillery and the mortars and things started firing in.
And that gave you the cover and bought you the time to get out. Yeah.
And I got a Silver Star for that, and so did the other soldier, the corporal that got shot, because he had a BAR rifle, and he got right back up and started firing again. I didn't get hit the whole time I was over there. I didn't get wounded at all.
During this battle, explain to me exactly what you were carrying. A rifle?
Yes, and I was carrying a carbine.
A carbine rifle. And you were just down in the mud, in the dirt, just.
It was actually in the snow. It was in the
winter time,
and we had these. You've seen the pictures, or maybe you've seen it in person, of the Korean museum, or the whatever they call it at Washington.
Right.
And it shows the soldiers walking kind of scattered out with covers on. Well, those were white covers, and during the snow we had to wear them. That's what we had. We had our white on, and
yeah. So that's what you were wearing, was the white as a camouflage.
Just a cover over our regular uniforms.
Right. And were you down on the ground doing most of this, on your stomach, moving on your stomach, just, or however you could?
We had to move around some.
Do your job and.
Yeah, but you'd fall down to shoot and everything.
Yeah. How long did this battle last, would you say?
Oh, about 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was quite disturbing. That's the biggest battle I'd been in, but we had some shots fired back and forth.
Right.
That was quite an experience.
So you count yourself fortunate to have been one of the ones who was able to survive the war.
Yeah.
How long were you in Korea?
I was in almost a year.
Almost a year?
A little less than a year. And it was, I thought of something else. Maybe I think of it in a minute.
Yeah. Now eventually you left the Heartbreak Ridge area, right? And you went, you had talked about.
We were relieved at one time and went back for training, and we started training. And you never get to rest in the Army. So they pulled us off, but we immediately went in training, and just to get us off the line, they do that to relieve you of some other division, and then put you back up front again, which we did. Another time in a less active area, I would say. But then right after that, they had the uprising in Kojido Island with the prisoners, and the prisoners actually captured the commander and the lieutenant commander, and held them hostage. And Colonel Boatner, who was the commandant at A&M the 4 years I was there. And when I left, he left too, and he went to Korea, and he was assigned to quell the riot, to do what he could to get. And they had actually put all those prisoners in 5,000 to 10,000 man compound, which was wrong to start with. You can't control that many people.
Right.
And the interesting, amusing thing is it is supposed to have been said that when they asked him did he think he could handle that, he said, I handled the Texas A&M Mothers Clubs for 4 years. It's nothing like anyway.
That's what Boatner said?
That's what Boatner said. And they made him a general after he did, but we went down there and helped them, broke them down into 500 men compounds, and they were very easy manageable then.
Right.
And, it was just a matter of...
How many prisoners were there?
There were about 30,000.
Goodness gracious.
And those were mostly Chinese. The North Koreans they kept on land. I'm not saying they were all Chinese. But and
was this prison camp, was it like you normally think of prison camps with high fences and...
yeah, it was all fenced area, and it was on an island. So it's further away than Alcatraz was.
So it was on an island?
On an island. Kojido is an island.
That geographically?
Right off the southern tip of Korea.
Off southern tip of Korea.
Busan is where you usually...
And did you get there by boat? Or?
By boat.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's an airstrip there now.
Right.
And there were people living there. It was everywhere you went, there were people living. In the war zone, there were people living there. Just people, farmers and things like that. It was
just going about their business.
When they would come in at night, they helped build the trenches and everything. They was hired people, and they would come in and work at night to sandbag the trenches and things like that.
Yeah.
Because we had to watch them because we didn't know who was who. You never could tell who was whether. How do you tell the North Korean from the South Korean?
Right. Yeah. Sure.
And there's a lot of spies over here.
Right.
And you had to watch your men on the personal thing because there's a lot of prostitutes up in the mountains. And they were apparently easy to find because they'd slip off and they were just up in the mountains there, and then they would. So you catch it. We even had to send patrols behind us to catch guys.
Oh, is that right? You had to keep track of your men.
Yeah.
So when you finished at what was it, Kojido? Is that how you pronounce it? Kojido. When you finished there, were you finished in Korea, or what did you have to do?
Actually, we got relieved in Kojido, and we were pulling out in LSTs, and I had my platoon on, had 3 LSTs that the platoon was on, and the equipment and everything. And we were leaving to go land somewhere, and I guess relieve somebody on the front line, but it was, and somebody came, a Jeep came, pulled in front of my LST and said, Lieutenant jumped out and said, if Lieutenant Middleton can get off, we got orders he can go home. And so I got off. I had to go up. They were already hosing down the ramp of the LST, and I had to jump off the thing into the water, but I made it. And it was, and I was 5 days off in my ship going back home when the war ended.
I see.
So we probably would have had no more contact.
Right.
Combat at that point in time.
Right. I
hope I talk better for the mic.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. So you came home, and then what'd you do after that?
I came home and took some leave. I had some accumulated leave, and then went to Fort Sam Houston and was given a release from active duty. I wasn't given a discharge, and I stayed in reserves until 1964, and then I was discharged completely, which is a good time because I would have been in Vietnam pretty soon afterwards, I think. I missed the Vietnam War, but I served in the reserves.
Right.
And I was given the opportunity when we were back in Cogido, when I was already, by that time I was the company executive order, which is second in command, and the company commander was rotating out, and they told me if I would sign over for another stretch, that didn't make me a captain, and I was a first lieutenant by then, and I'd make me a captain and give me the company. I decided I wanted to come on home because I really wasn't a regular Army officer.
Yeah.
And sometimes in retrospect, I kind of wish I had stayed in.
Who they're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Bill
Yeah.
Rice from NBU.
The service is something that I like. I admire people that are in the service.
Right.
And,
What'd you do after you got out of active duty? What was your career?
I went to work for an oil company. I went to work for the old Pan American Petroleum Corporation and worked for 3 years with them. And
In Houston or in
it was actually in Alvin,
Alvin?
the Houston area. But after about 3 years, they went through a merge, and I was let go. But within a week, I went to work for what was then called the Magnolia Petroleum. It was actually Magnolia Pipeline. I was a pipeliner through my whole career, which became Mobil, which is now Exxon Mobil, but I wasn't part of Exxon Mobil. My father was an Exxon.
Your father was an Exxon?
He was an Exxon retiree.
And you were Magnolia, which was the precursor of Mobil, right? And you were a pipeliner.
We built pipelines and operated pipelines, and I worked various parts of the world. I worked on the design of the Alaska pipeline, and I worked on the Colonial Pipeline, which takes gasoline up to the East Coast, and eventually we designed our company with 7 other companies got together and were going to design a deep water offloading port off the coast of Freeport. And that was called CDOC, and we worked through that. I worked 3 years there, and just on loan, and that fell through because the government of red tape and everything was which after all the money spent was Mobil pulled out, and they sent me to Norway.
Norway?
Yeah. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually worked in Libya, Norway, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. And nobody heard of Qatar till now, and that's where the military headquarters is.
Right.
It's a little thumb off Saudi Arabia. They're a small place, but it's got a lot of oil.
Yeah.
And I retired from overseas, and we moved to Bay City, Texas. I lived there several years because that's where my wife is from, and she took care of her parents, and they both passed away. And I spent so much time up here. I was working with the Corps. I like to work with the Corps Development Council, and saw as many athletic events as I could.
Yeah.
We just decided to move up here.
Yeah.
It's a great decision.
Yeah. Well, wow, what a career. So you retired, when did you retire from the oil business?
Early 1990s. So I did some consulting work after that.
Yeah.
And went to Pennsylvania a few times, and finally after about 5 more years, I just decided I didn't want to work anymore.
Well, you did more traveling in your adult career than you did in the military, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, she was able to go with me everywhere except to Libya.
Yeah.
She didn't go to Libya, but she went everywhere else and enjoyed it. She was very adaptive, and we had a good time.
Yeah.
Even Saudi Arabia was at that point in time was a very nice, good place to live. if you work for a large company, well, they'll take care of you wherever
Right.
you go.
Y'all have children?
Yes, we have 2 daughters, grown, of course, and they have 2 children each. And I have one of my daughters graduated from A&M in 1978,
Uh-huh.
and one of them went to East Texas State in Commerce, which
Right.
is now Texas A&M Commerce.
Right.
And they both have 2 children, of which one has got his bachelor's and master's here at A&M.
Uh-huh.
Another one has just graduated last year as an architect from A&M. And
So
the
you got-
granddaughter is
I'll be darned.
a senior here now, and she's been living with us, but she's moved out with some of her friends into a house.
I see.
And the other one moved up here just as soon as he got out of high school and still lives here, but he was never able to get into A&M. He went
Yeah.
to Blinn,
Yeah,
but he's as big ag as the rest of them.
sure.
And he still lives here. He's 23 years old now, but he
So you got 2 grandkids that graduated from A&M.
and one's
And you got
from
2
the
other
graduate.
grandkids, one that's fixing to
Going to graduate.
graduate, and the other one that's here has been going to Blinn. And,
Yeah, well, he doesn't now.
Yeah.
He and his father actually own a Napa store in Giddings.
I see. I see.
They were from Bay City too. And
So are any of your grandkids married?
no,
No?
just waiting to waiting to see. But, hey, so
Well,
we
that's
don't have any great grandchildren. I have.
What have you got there? Oh, let's see what you
I've
got.
look, something I wrote here,
Good.
and I'll let you have that. And I just sat down here some time ago and decided to write that.
Oh, I love these. I will,
You can have that.
oh, thank you very much.
And that was written, somebody here is writing a book about the Aggies in the military. It's supposed to be published real soon.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my classmates coordinated our class for it, and he asked me to jot something down. I
I'd
thought I was
say you
going to
did a
give him
little-
a page or two, and I ended up giving 10 pages.
Yeah, you did a little, single space.
You showing the picture?
Yeah, I want to
Shot
see.
on Page 55.
The front line,
Ken Shockey.
he was the tank platoon leader. And then we were in front of my command post there.
Oh my goodness. This will show up good on the TV thing. You got some more stuff there?
Yes, my wife, she likes to make scrapbooks. I didn't say anything about all this war. We just come home and I went on about my business and tried to forget it, and it's kind of hard to forget. In fact, I still have nightmares. I have a certain thing that comes in my mind, and she has to wake me up every once in a while.
Is that right?
About that. We had a kid, one of our patrols that went out, just our regular ambush patrol. We relieved him.
If I can take this, I'll get this back to you
Okay.
on Wednesday if that's okay.
Okay, I've got
Anything
some
here.
more pictures here.
Good.
But when one of them came back, we usually relieved them at night, at midnight or halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
And when they showed up, well, the assistant squad leader was missing. Nobody heard anything. He was coming from the back. He was covering the rear. And so I had to take some men out to try to find him. And we did find his helmet, but that's all we found. And no, we found his rifle and
Yeah.
3 other helmets. They had
Right.
his helmet. And we just found it. We thought maybe that was his, but we got back with his just 3 helmets that somebody had lost or been shot before. You always pick up things like that in battlegrounds. And 2 days later, my company commander called and told me, gave me the coordinates to get my glasses and look. And they had this guy staked out on a ridge way out in front, about 2,000 yards. They had him staked out with his helmet beside him, and had even taken his clothes off so his white t-shirt would show. And they had actually got him, killed him, and put him up for display so we could see him. And that kind of thing. And I,
Is that what wakes you up at night?
partially, yes,
Yeah.
I still remember that. And I just can't understand how anybody could do that to somebody. It's just
Yeah.
it's very depressing. And Anyway, I thought I was going to have to. In fact, I got volunteers. I went out and told them somebody we're going to have to go get him.
So did you go?
And we were set to go. We already had our plans made and everything, and we were set to go. And we got orders from regimental headquarters not to go. They said it's come down from the top. No need to sacrifice.
Right.
Now the Marines can talk about not leaving the man behind, but I just wonder if they would go get something like that. Cause that was they just had it there to see if they would come get you, because they had
it was a trap.
thousands of people ready to get you when you. But we were going to go.
My goodness! Wow. Well, I want to start. Let me see what you got.
Okay. This is my wife and her friend put this together.
Oh yeah, she's a scrapbooker. I can tell, huh? My wife does the same thing.
And this is a picture of this is Heartbreak Ridge right here. And it comes down across, and that's the Mungdung Knee Valley, straight up this way. And we were right, the lines went across there, and then across and back up the other side. And you can't see the part that I was in on this one, but.
So this indentation that I see here, that's the valley? Or?
No, it's going this way.
Okay.
It starts here.
Oh, I see. I see on the other side of the ridge.
Yes,
that's the valley.
This is two different sets of mountains here.
Okay.
And this is what was called Heartbreak Ridge. There I am as a senior.
Wow.
And there, me as a young...
Oh, some great pictures here.
Young officer. And we got married right after I went in the Army. Here's a picture of me at 4 doors and my 51 Ford Victoria.
All right.
Which I wish I had back.
That was a machine.
I love that car. Now, this is the picture that you just looked at.
Right.
See? 51 years later, 52 years later, here's these two guys standing in the same position.
This is
That's
Ken right there.
Ken
right here.
There, huh?
I'll be darned.
That might be a good thing.
Yeah. Oh
you
no.
can show
Absolutely.
both of these. They can hone in here, and so that's the same guys and the same standing in the same position, just about.
And when was this taken?
That was taken in last year.
Just last year.
Last year. And this was taken in 52.
Goodness gracious.
And there's my orders for the Silver
Star.
There's some write-ups in the papers. And here's some of the platoon leaders in my company. That's me and 3 others. I can't remember their names now. And that was taken in Cochido. I carried a pistol around, and they wanted a 45 caliber pistol. That's what I had them. There's some of those miniature medals or something. This is the ship I came back on. Home on. That's something else. That's my great grandfather. Was in the Civil War.
Wow,
let's see. There's some more pictures on this crap. All right, there's a picture of my trenches coming in. And actually, it came down here, and this is about the beginning. Yeah, I got a check right there. That's my first where my platoon started. It came down here, and this was the river that went down. And it was about a 15-foot drop across here. You had to go down on a rope ladder. And then across the river, and this was all leveled up in here. But this is a good picture of the other front lines, and this is taken from the inside. Going at, and that's a bunker of one of the where the front line soldiers slept. And then they manned positions up down here. And it went on up, and it goes up to this mountain here. And that's pictures of the front lines. And that's a good picture of the trenches there. there's my bunker right there. That's where I stayed. And this is another, you can see the same picture you saw a while ago. And it came right across here. That's just a picture down the valley. And that's just some sandbags on the front lines there. And here's a picture of it during the winter.
And during this battle that you were talking about, is this what it looked like right there?
That's what it looked like. Actually, I got some picture of almost, I think I got a picture of almost where it was. Actually, it's not on this, but it was back in this area, back right along in here. Right there, where it happened. Here's the lines right back here. And you didn't have to go very far before you met the enemy.
No, I guess not. Yeah.
But most of the battles didn't last as long as that one did. They were determined to get prisoners too. We wanted to get prisoners. We didn't get a prisoner, but we took 2 of their dead back with us and determined from that what we were facing. They wanted to know what the company had.
And about 20 of them died during that. Yeah.
So I don't know how much of this you might want to.
Oh no, this is great. If I promise to be real careful, can I take this until Wednesday?
Certainly.
I will. I'll be very, very careful. I better ask her.
Yeah, you better ask her. She's the one.
Can I take this until Wednesday?
It's all right with me. I have a question too.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way we can get a VHS or something of this?
Absolutely. I give a VHS and a DVD of each one. I'll get you I'll get you a couple of VHS tapes pretty quickly after it airs, and then the DVD it'll be probably a few more weeks until they get that to me from KAMU. But absolutely,
That's great.
Yeah, we'll be doing that. It's a great story. I can't wait to do the show. And this, your scrapbook. This book is wonderful. My wife does scrapbook.
That's my one attempt at it. I'm a quilter instead of.
Well, you've done very good.
Oh, this is her.
Oh my goodness.
I have padded walls and stuff.
But I am so glad, so thankful for what you're doing in bringing all this to light.
Well, you know, it's really my honor to do it. I guess I got my yeah.
And I want to.
Absolutely.
Even officers out there.
Right. Oh yeah.
If I was a professional soldier, I'd gone home.
Right.
Stayed over there.
Right.
I wasn't. I was a citizen soldier.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you one thing. I'm not very. I don't project myself very well. I have a little problem. You might have to.
No.
You might have to ask me a question or something.
Well, no. What we'll do? No, you're not going to be making a 30-minute speech. It'll be a conversation, much like we're having right now, and like you've seen the shows. You'll do most of the talking, but I'll lead you in the direction. And then when I think it's time to go into another direction, I'll lead you in that direction.
Well, I'm not like Bill Youngkin. He's a lawyer, and he can.
I need to be conscious of the time, because you'd be amazed how fast 27 and a half minutes goes that we've got to do it in, and to show the photographs and all that. But this will be a good show, and what we'll do is we tape it at 1:30. You know where KAMU is? Where they're?
Yeah, it's right on Houston Street.
Right, exactly. Okay. Right there, the same place they've always been. That one-story building there on the left.
Okay.
As you go into campus on Houston Street, and you can just park in the back of it. Right back there where the old tennis courts used to be, and there's 24-hour parking spaces, and you can just park in one of those. And we try to start taping at about 1:30.
Now, so what day is this?
Wednesday. Day after tomorrow. We try to start taping at about 1:30. So if you could be there by 1:15, that would be great. And by the time they get us all mic'd up and get all of their stuff going and their cameras focused and everything like that, and get the voice checks and all that, we usually actually start the show about 1:45 or so, and we go straight through. We don't do take
don't
two.
get a takeover, huh?
No, we just go straight through.
It's amateurs that don't have a takeover.
We just go straight through, and because it's a pretty easy show to do. It's just a conversation between you and I, and so you ought to be out of there by 2:15 or so, and then I'll get you a tapes, and it'll air this weekend.
Well, I might have to stop and get a drink of water.
Oh well, no, that's fine. You can bring your own water. We'll have water with that you can just have right there. Okay. And when I'm asking the questions or when we're showing the pictures, you take a swig of water anytime you want, just so you're comfortable. That'll be fine. And you're certainly welcome to be there and come and sit. You'll have a monitor there that you can watch if you want. So, love to have you there.
Thank you, we'll see.
So that'd be wonderful if you want.
Staying home.
I understand. Yeah, but if you want to come, that's good. Can you get there okay?
Yeah.
But I don't need to come get you or anything like that. That's fine.
Good. I was going to park in the parking garage. That parking is just...
No. Just park right behind KAMU.
Can you go by the side of KAMU onto Houston, from Houston?
Yeah. You just turn left. You pass the building, and you take an immediate left right on the far side of the building. And that'll just take you around to the back of the building of KAMU, and there's parking spaces right behind the building. No, you don't have to park at the parking garage. You can park right behind the building, and there's a ramp that comes up the back entrance, and I'll be there to meet you when you get there, or somebody will be there.